All right, guys. Looks like you're not allowed to list hand grenades on eBay.
Mountain Man.
Treasures.
Welcome into the channel, guys. My name is Troy. I'm a reseller in Montana. I go to garage sales, I go to estate sales, I look online, wherever it is, I find stuff that I think I can then turn around and sell for profit. Now, I do have two booths, officially a booth and a half here in a vintage mall. That's where I'm sitting at now. And so I do sell some stuff locally and sell some things, here and there on Marketplace, that sort of thing. But for the most part, I sell on eBay. That's where the bulk of my efforts go in terms of reselling. And you might remember, I'll see if I can put a link up at the top if I remember back. We did a little video here just a couple weeks ago, I think, where we were in here and we were looking at a couple of military items that I picked up. Incidentally, items that the mother of the owner said were haunted. I don't know that they are. I don't think they are. But they gave her the creeps. She wanted them out. And so this guy sold them on Marketplace. And pretty cool stuff. And one of those things I comped. I found a couple of available comps, a couple of sold comps, and figured, seems right. I listed something I wasn't supposed to. And here it is. We talked about it very briefly in the previous video. But this is a World War II era hand grenade. Well, and that's hand grenade. They called them last ditch weapons. Near little history lesson for you here. I was a history minor in school. I love history. And so we'll get through it really quick. Nothing like Kevin over there, Commonwealth Picker. You don't have to take your seats. There's not going to be a quiz. Near the end of World War II, most of Japan's factories were either taken over or destroyed. Their manufacturing ability was severely hampered, but they're still trying to fight in the war. And so they sat back and said, well, what can we do? How can we still manufacture bayonets and grenades, things like that, with what we do have access to? They turned to their kilns for the pottery that they were making, and they started making hand grenades, essentially. The weapons that they made at the end of the war in this way that were non-conventional, they called them last-ditch weapons, because it was their last ditch, their last gas, their last effort to try to do something. So what they did with these is they fired on their kilns some grenades. And this is basically just an empty shell. They had several kinds of them, but they were very crude. They didn't have a whole lot of dispersal of, when it blew up, there wasn't a whole lot there. So they turned into more of a concussive thing. You throw it in, you stun the enemy, and then you can enter the room type of thing. They were okay for what they could do. It doesn't look like this was ever turned into anything because they put the gunpowder and a fuse and all that stuff in here. There was then usually a rubber cap. They would tie like a piece of cloth around there to kind of hold it together. But that's what this is. And so right now, all it is a piece of pottery. Never, as far as I can tell, was never even used, right? It's not like it was demilitarized or anything like that. And so because there were others listed, and there were some sold, listed on eBay. Very quickly, it was taken down. I was violating their, the military items policy or something. And so I got a hold of them and basically said, what I just told you, like, hey, this is a piece of pottery right now. Like, it was never even turned into a weapon. This is all it is. It's just to sit on a shelf for somebody. And there are some listed, there are some sold. So I'm trying to figure out why it got pulled. And they came back and basically said, like, hey, even if things were demilled, even if they were taken apart, military explosives are not allowed to be listed. Or military weapons, I think is what they said. And I said, well, so like bayonets, those are okay? And I said, well, yeah, there are some exceptions. Because what confused me, he said, I asked him, Hey, this was never actually turned into a weapon as far as I can tell. This is literally all it ever was this. So I'm selling a piece of pottery. And he said, well, because it was intended to be a weapon, it's not allowed. I don't know. That seems weird. They never had to make it safe. It was never made dangerous. But it was intended to be a weapon, and so it's not allowed. And that's when I said, well, what about bayonets, which are obviously intended to be a weapon? Well, those are allowed, and there's some exceptions, and those are in the exceptions. Like I said in the previous video, it's eBay sandbox, and we're the ones playing in it, and so we got to play by their rules, even if their rules don't always make sense. In this case, I don't think this one does, but he said, hey, I noticed you said there are some other listings. Would you share with me the item number or like the listing title so that I can report them? I ain't no snitch, man. And to be honest, how hard would it be? Because he saw my listing. He knows what it was that I listed. He could probably look those up, right? That would not be hard. But he basically said, hey, you want to get those other ones taken down? And that's how mine got taken down. I'm almost positive. Newer sellers in particular are saying, hey, I got a thing taken down. How does that happen? Why does that happen? I keep putting it up and they keep taking it down. That's bad, first off. We'll touch on that here in a second. But there are a few ways that things get removed from eBay. One of them is just an auto flag. Sometimes it'll auto flag when you put words in, Confederate flag. If you type that in, it's not going to let you do it because they no longer allow that on the platform. Don't know why they don't have everything set up as to flag words that they're going to then later take down. If I type in hand grenade, maybe you should just flag that. I don't know. I did see a couple try to skirt that, and apparently successfully. This should be about $100 in this condition. I saw some others sell for about $60, and they just didn't put the word hand grenade in there. They put ceramic class, I think this is a class 4 or class 5. They put ceramic in the class and last ditch. Collectors that are looking for it know what they're looking for and they find it, but it doesn't sell for the premium price that way. It is a way around it. Images get flagged. They have AI bots that run around and scan your pictures for things that are not allowed. I had a brooch that got flagged multiple times for violating the you're not allowed to sell ivory, and it thought there was ivory in there based on the AI scanning the photo. There wasn't. It was a resin. And so I explained this to the people and said, hey, there's resin, there's no ivory in here in the description, there's no mention of the word, it's nowhere. And they said, well, it just made a mistake. So you can relist this as long as there's no ivory in it and point out in the description and in the title that it's resin. So I relisted it. Not so long after, it got flagged again. But for the same reason, and I put resin in there. I think I put plastic, resin, all the words I could think of, and it still flagged it thinking it was ivory. So at that point, I quit. It's not worth the hassle. Sometimes companies report stuff. We sell our little rubber ducks on this channel to support the channel, and some of the money goes to support the Gary Sinise Foundation. They do fantastic work with wounded veterans and first responders. And if you're going to sell on eBay, you got to get your ducks in a row. And there's no way you can get your ducks in a row better than picking up a duck from Mountain Man Treasure or a couple of ducks. You can pick those up out of the store. Well, when we first started selling them, we called them Jeep ducks because people sometimes buy them to put on Jeeps. I think that started during COVID maybe. And it's just a generic term. But the thing is, Jeep is a trademarked brand. And so all of a sudden, I got a notice that they took down one of my ducks, that Jeep flagged it as not being authentic Jeep merchandise. That freaked me out a little bit because we had hundreds of ducks listed, so I had to go in and take them all down before they got flagged, and it screwed up my account. And then I had to take Jeep out of the title of all of them because, Jeep was right. It's not an official Jeep product, though I wasn't trying to sell it as an official Jeep product. I still had their name in my title, and so you can see what happens there. So sometimes companies will go through and randomly search for them, or some of them are kind of, OtterBox, a little bit militant. Don't list OtterBox, they will get that thing taken down really quickly. But what's happened to me before that was sort of confirmed by eBay, they said yes without saying yes, and I think that's what happened here. Is you can report another seller, and what happens is sellers, especially in niche categories, when maybe they have the only one that's available, they want to continue to have the only one that's available, and so they can report your listing. I mean, they might have a notification set up that lets them know, right? Hey, one of these things got listed. What do when they see somebody else's pop up that's not theirs? I guess they report it as violating eBay policy. And so all of a sudden, this one's gone. They have the only one that's left again. No way to know for sure that that's what happened, but, tell me what those other ones are. I can take those down. That's not me. I just sort of, I brushed past that, talked about other things, and let it disappear without mentioning it again. I'm not going to, I'm not a snitch, man. Like, even if they were the ones that got mine taken down, I don't know. That's just me. I'm not going to report other people for something that they should be able to sell, frankly. And if eBay wants to get it, they can go find it. It's not hard, so if they really want to, they could get it taken down. But, as far as that goes, it's nothing that's inherently dangerous. Now, if it was something that was dangerous or something that was unsafe, maybe I would, maybe that changes, right? Like, this is a sliding scale, right? So maybe there are things that I would, that shouldn't be on there, eBay. I'm going to tell you about it. But for this, no, I mean, you reported me, great. I guess I hope you get the sale. I looked, there's still one on there, or at least there was as of this morning, because I looked at theirs at one point. I actually got sent an offer for it. But I guess that would be something that I'd be curious about, is you get that opportunity. It's happened to you. Tell me down below, do you become an eBay snitch? I don't know. I'm just wondering. I mentioned it before about don't relist it. I see a lot of times people, it happens a lot of times with like CPAP stuff, which is technically, there are parts and pieces that aren't prescription. eBay does not allow you to list medical equipment that requires a prescription to get. That said, pretty much anything with CPAP, they flag. Even if it's like the hoses and stuff, that you can get just over the counter. And I keep relisting it, and they keep taking it down. Don't relist it. It says it. When they give you a notification and say, hey, we took your thing down, don't relist this thing. They mean that. You do it a couple times, they can screw up your account, but they can end it, right? Like, if they really want to. They can put you in eBay jail, or they can give you a perma ban, and it's not worth it, especially since most of us are selling one-off items. It's not worth it. You don't fight that. Even, I sent them a message saying, hey, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this, just so I could understand. And, once I realized they're pretty inflexible, this is what they say the rule is, it's not going to change. I'm not going to try and list this thing again, even if I change the wording, if I take different pictures, whatever, because this is a one-off. I'm never going to find or list another one of these. I only have one of them now. It's not worth your account to get in trouble, and it's not worth the time, even if I would then sell it, right? Like, you have to balance it. A lot of times I'll see people trying to sell things for under $10 in this instance. And they're talking about, I've talked with eBay, I heard messages back and forth, I'm waiting to hear from the company, things like this. It's $10, man. Like, cut your losses, move on. Don't risk your account, and don't waste your time. That's my suggestion, as far as, if things get taken down. So, I'd like to hear, would you snitch? And I'd like to hear what did you get taken down. Let people below. Let people down below read the comments, guys. Good information down there. What have you had that's been removed? Maybe that'll save somebody else from having to deal with it, whether it's a specific brand or whether it's a specific type of item, whatever it is. What have you had removed from eBay? So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out on this one. See you next time.